My name is Nadia, and this is the story I never thought I would tell. Sometimes I still don't recognize the woman I became after giving birth. Not because I changed into someone bad, but because I became someone stronger, even when I felt very weak inside. It all started a few months after I gave birth to my baby boy. My body was still healing. My nights were full of crying, feeding, and trying to stay awake. My days were slow and heavy. I loved my baby so much, but I was tired all the time. My body did not feel like my own anymore. One day, my husband Victor looked at me and laughed a little. It was not a kind laugh. He said, "Look at you. Other women have flat stomachs after giving birth. What happened to you?" I felt my chest tighten. I tried to breathe normally, but I was already holding my stomach in. I didn't even notice I was doing that. I said quietly, "I am still healing." He looked at me like I was making excuses. Healing? For how long? The baby is already 8 months old. 8 months. To him, it sounded like a long time. To me, it felt like yesterday. I still remembered the pain, the fear, the long hours. My body was not the same, and I knew it. I didn't answer him. I just looked down. Before marriage, I used to be smaller. I knew that. I remembered how I looked in my old dresses. Sometimes I missed that version of me, but I also knew I had done something powerful. I had carried life inside me. Victor didn't see that. He only saw my body. He continued, "Before marriage, you were size 10. Now, what are you?" I didn't know. I stopped checking. I was afraid of the answer, so I just said, "I don't know." That made him even more annoyed. He started talking about food, about how I eat too much, about how I should go to the gym, about how I should stop making excuses. I told him I was breastfeeding. I thought maybe he would understand. But he didn't. He said, "Then eat salad. From next month, I will send less money for food. I am not paying for weight gain." Those words stayed in my head. Even now, I can still hear them clearly. I carried his child. I gave birth. I stayed awake at night taking care of our baby. But somehow, all he saw was my weight. I wanted to cry, but I didn't. I just stayed quiet. Later, his mother came to visit. I thought maybe she would be kind to me. Maybe she would understand what it means to be a mother. But I was wrong. She looked at me from head to toe and shook her head. "This is not how you entered my son's house," she said. "After just one child, you look like this?" Her words felt like sharp knives. She started talking about her own body, about how she had many children but still looked good, about discipline, about how a wife must maintain her shape. Victor stood there and said nothing. That hurt more than anything. I looked at him, hoping he would say something, hoping he would defend me. But he didn't. He just agreed with her. In that moment, I felt very small. That night, I lay in bed next to him. He reached for me, but I felt uncomfortable. My body felt different. I felt different. He said, "It doesn't feel the same." I froze. I told him I had stitches after birth. I told him I was still healing, but he didn't seem to care. He just repeated that it was not the same anymore. After that, I stopped looking at myself in the mirror, because every time I did, I didn't see me. I heard his voice. You are not the same. You let yourself go. You are not attractive anymore. Those words became louder than my own thoughts. One day, he showed me pictures of other women on his phone. Women with flat stomachs, perfect bodies, and bright smiles. Look at her, he said. Strong, beautiful, not like you. I felt something break inside me. I asked him, "Why do you keep doing this?" He said, "I am motivating you." Motivation. That word sounded so strange, because what I felt was not motivation. It was pain. It was shame. I started to believe him. I started to think maybe I was the problem. Maybe I was not trying hard enough. Maybe I was not good enough. Maybe I was not beautiful anymore. I stopped eating properly because I felt guilty. But at the same time, I was always hungry because of breastfeeding. I didn't know what to do. Everything felt confusing. One night, I called my friend Tara. I couldn't hold it in anymore. I was crying, and I didn't even know why. She asked me, "What's wrong?" I said, "I am not enough anymore." She was quiet for a moment. Then she said something that changed me. "You carried his child," she said softly. "Maybe the problem is not your body. Maybe the problem is the person judging it." Her words made me stop crying for a second. I had never thought about it that way. I always blamed myself. I always thought I had to change. But what if I was not the problem? Still, it was hard to believe. Because every day, I went back home to the same voice. Victor kept complaining about my eating, about my body, about everything. He even reduced the money for food. He said it was for my own good. But it didn't feel like care. It felt like control. One evening, as I sat alone holding my baby, I looked down at my body, my soft stomach, my tired arms, my heavy eyes. And for the first time, I whispered to myself, "I am not losing myself because someone else lost respect." That moment was small, but it was the beginning of something new. After that night, something inside me slowly started to change. It was not a big change. It was not loud or strong. It was quiet, like a small voice inside me trying to wake up after a long sleep. The next morning, I looked at myself in this mirror again. I was scared at first. I expected to hear Victor's voice in my head, telling me I was not enough. But this time, I tried to listen to my own voice. I looked at my body carefully. My stomach was still soft. My eyes looked tired. My shoulders felt heavy. But I also saw something else. I saw a woman who survived pain. I saw a woman who gave life. I saw a mother. That day, I made a small decision. I wanted to do something for myself, not for Victor, not for anyone else, just for me. I didn't know where to start, but I knew I couldn't stay like this forever. A few days later, I saw a small sign outside a boutique shop. It said they were looking for a part-time worker. I stood there for a long time, just staring at the door. I had never worked in a place like that before. I didn't feel confident. I didn't even feel good about myself. But I still walked in. Inside, the shop was calm and beautiful. Clothes were neatly arranged, and soft music was playing. A woman stood behind the counter. She looked confident and kind. She smiled at me and said, "Welcome. How can I help you?" I felt nervous, but I said, "I came to ask about the job." She looked at me carefully, not in a judging way, but like she was trying to understand me. "I'm Leela," she said. "I own this boutique." I was surprised. She didn't look like what I imagined a business owner to be. She looked simple, but strong. She asked me, "Do you have experience?" I shook my head. "No, but I learn fast." She smiled a little. "That's honest. I like that." Then she said something I didn't expect. "You have good taste," she told me. I almost laughed. "Me?" "Yes," she said. "You dress to hide your body. That means you understand structure and shape." Her words were gentle, not like Victor's. She didn't make me feel small. She made me feel seen. She asked me why I wanted the job. I looked down and said, "I just want to stand on my own feet." She nodded slowly. "I respect that." Then she smiled and said, "You can start tomorrow." I couldn't believe it. When I got home, I told Victor. I thought maybe he would be happy for me, but he just looked at me and laughed. "A boutique?" he said. "Selling clothes?" "For who? Yourself?" His words hurt, but not as much as before. "At least I will earn something," I said quietly. He shook his head. "Don't stress yourself. You can't even handle your weight." I didn't reply. Something was different this time. His words still hurt, but they didn't stay inside me the same way. The next day, I went to work. I felt nervous. My hands were cold. My heart was beating fast. Leela noticed. "Relax," she said. "Just stand straight. Confidence sells more than clothes." I smiled a little. "I am not confident." She looked at me and said, "Then fake it." That made me laugh for the first time in a long time. As the days passed, I started to learn. I talked to customers. I helped them choose clothes. I listened to their stories. And something strange happened. People liked me. They smiled at me. They trusted me. They even asked for my opinion. For a moment, I forgot how I saw myself at home. At work, I felt different. One day, Leela asked me, "Why are you not confident in yourself?" I didn't want to answer, but something about her made me feel safe. I said, "You won't understand my life." She looked at me calmly. "Try me." So I told her a little. Not everything, just enough. I told her about my husband, about how he talks to me, about how I feel when I look in the mirror. She listened without interrupting. Then she said something simple but powerful. "Motherhood changes everything," she said. "Your body, your sleep, your life. Anyone who expects you to stay the same is not being fair." I felt my eyes fill with tears. "No one ever said that to me," I whispered. She nodded. "Because many people don't understand. Real life is not perfect. It is messy." I took a deep breath. "But my body still feels wrong," I said. "Sometimes I feel ugly." She looked at me directly. "Who made you feel that way?" I didn't answer, but deep inside, I knew the truth. That night, when I went home, Victor asked me how much I earned. Not much, I said. He nodded. Good. Don't start feeling independent. I looked at him, but I didn't say anything. Inside me, something was growing. Not anger, not sadness, strength. A few days later, Leela invited me to the gym with her. Come with me in the morning, she said. We will go slow. I was scared. Everyone there will look perfect, I said. She smiled. No one is perfect. They just show up. Her words stayed with me. The next morning, I woke up early. My body felt heavy. My eyes wanted to close again. But I still got up. At the gym, I felt shy at first. I looked around and saw people stronger than me. I wanted to leave, but Leela said, "Focus on yourself." So I did. I started small, simple movements, slow steps, and something amazing happened. I didn't break. I didn't fail. I was still there. For the first time in months, I felt connected to my body again. Not with hate, but with effort. Day by day, I kept going, not to become perfect, but to become stronger. At the same time, something else was happening. Victor started coming home late. He was always on his phone, smiling at messages. One day, I saw a name on his screen, a woman's name. My heart felt cold. I didn't say anything at first, but deep inside, I knew. Something was wrong. And this time, I was not going to ignore it. The more I changed, the more I started to see things clearly. Before, I was always tired, always sad, always trying to fix myself. I didn't have the energy to question anything around me. But now, something inside me was awake. I started noticing Victor more. The late nights, the secret smiles at his phone, the way he turned the screen away when I walked in. At first, I tried to ignore it. I told myself I was overthinking. I told myself I didn't want more problems. But the truth was already there. One afternoon at the boutique, his phone lit up again in my mind. I couldn't focus. I kept thinking about that name I saw. Leela noticed. "You are distracted today," she said. I nodded slowly. Something feels wrong. She didn't push me. She just said, "Then don't ignore it." That simple sentence gave me courage. Later that day, I checked his phone. My hands were shaking. My heart was beating so fast. And there it was. Messages. Many messages. Sweet words, flirty words, things he never said to me anymore. My chest felt tight. I couldn't breathe properly. I didn't cry. Not this time. I felt something else. Clarity. The next day at work, I was quiet. Leela asked me again what was wrong. This time, I told her everything. About the messages, about the late nights, about the way he made me feel small. She listened carefully. Then she asked me one question. What is her name? I told her. And suddenly, her face changed. She looked shocked. I felt confused. What is it? She took a deep breath. Nadia, I think I know her. My heart dropped. What do you mean? She looked at me and said slowly, "The woman is me." For a moment, the world stopped. I couldn't hear anything. I just stared at her. "You?" I whispered. She nodded, her eyes full of regret. "I didn't know he was your husband." My legs felt weak. I sat down slowly. She started explaining quickly. "He told me his marriage was over. He said his wife stopped trying. He said she didn't care about herself anymore." Every word felt like a knife. I laughed softly, but there was no joy in it. "Stop trying?" I said. I was still bleeding after giving birth. Leela covered her mouth. "Oh my God! I didn't know." I looked at her, my eyes full of pain. "How long?" I asked. She hesitated. 6 months. 6 months? My baby was only 8 months old. That means, while I was healing, while I was awake every night with our child. My voice broke. He was with you. Tears finally came, but they were quiet. Not loud like before. Different, stronger. Leela looked truly sorry. "Nadia, I swear I didn't know. If I knew, I would never." I raised my hand gently. "It's not your fault." And I meant it. For the first time, I saw the truth clearly. The problem was never me. It was him. That evening, everything came together. Victor walked into the boutique like nothing was wrong. He smiled when he saw me. "Nadia, let's go home." But before I could answer, Leela spoke. "She works here," she said calmly. Victor froze. His eyes moved between us. Confusion, fear, panic. Everything was on his face. "Explain," Leela said. He tried to laugh. "This is a misunderstanding." I shook my head slowly. "No, this is the truth." He started talking fast, saying things didn't mean anything, saying he was just confused, saying I was overreacting. But his words didn't touch me anymore. Before, I would have cried. Before, I would have begged him to choose me. But not now. Leela looked at him with anger. "You said your wife was lazy. You said she let herself go." Victor stayed silent. I stepped forward. "I had complications during birth," I said quietly. "I was healing. I was taking care of our baby, alone." Leela turned to me. "You are not what he described, not even close." Victor tried to interrupt. "You don't understand our marriage." I cut him off. "No, Victor," I said calmly. "You don't understand it." For the first time, I saw something new in his eyes. Not anger, not control, fear. "You made me hate myself," I continued. "Every time I looked in the mirror, I heard your voice." He shook his head. "That's not my fault." "It is," I said firmly, "because your voice became louder than mine." There was silence. Heavy silence. Then I did something I never thought I could do. I took a deep breath and said, "I am done feeling small." Victor stared at me like he didn't know me anymore. Maybe he didn't. Because I was not the same Nadia. Not the one who cried quietly. not the one who believed every cruel word. I was stronger now, not perfect, but stronger. That night, I went home and held my baby close. I looked at him and whispered, "I will be better for you. Not thinner, not perfect, better." The next days were not easy. Victor tried to talk to me. He called me many times. He sent messages. But I didn't run to him anymore. For the first time, I let the phone ring. At the gym, I pushed myself harder. Every time I felt weak, I remembered his words. And instead of breaking, I used them. I lifted weights. I moved my body. I felt pain, but it was a different kind of pain. This pain made me stronger. Leela stood by me through everything. She trained with me. She talked to me. She reminded me of my worth. "You are not broken," she told me. "You are rebuilding." And slowly, I started to believe it. One day, as I looked in the mirror again, I didn't see the same woman from before. I still had my soft stomach. I still had tired eyes. But I also had something new, confidence. Not loud, not perfect, but real. And for the first time in a long time, I smiled. Life did not change in one day. It was slow. Some days were good. Some days were heavy. But I kept moving. After everything came out, Victor lost his job for some time. People started talking. His phone was always ringing. But now it was not women. It was work, problems, and stress. One evening, he came home early. He looked tired. Not the normal tired I knew. This was different. His shoulders were low. His eyes were worried. "I was suspended," he said. I looked at him quietly. "They are investigating me," he continued. "They think I did something wrong with money." I didn't react the way he expected. Before, I would panic. I would try to help him. I would forget my own pain. But now I just stood there. "I see," I said. He looked surprised. That night, he opened the fridge and frowned. "Why is there no food?" I answered calmly, "You reduced the food money. Do you remember?" He didn't say anything. For the first time, he was feeling the result of his own actions. The house was quiet that night. My baby was crying, and I was walking around the room, trying to calm him. Victor stood there, confused. "He won't stop crying," he said. "He is teething," I answered. "How do you know?" I looked at him and said softly, "Because I pay attention." There was silence again. That moment said more than words. For months, I had been doing everything alone. The same body he called fat was the body that stayed awake at night, carrying, feeding, and loving our child. And now, he was finally seeing it. Days passed. His situation became worse. There were talks about charges, about losing everything. One night, he sat down and held his head. "I could lose my job. Everything," he said. I looked at him and replied, "I needed you months ago." He looked at me like he finally understood. But I was no longer waiting. "I'm going to the gym," I said, picking up my bag. "You're leaving?" he asked. "Yes," I said. "I am not your emergency solution anymore." And I walked out. At the gym, I felt strong, not because my body was perfect, but because my mind was clear. I was no longer trying to become someone else. I was becoming myself. Weeks later, something unexpected happened. Victor's case was cleared. It was a mistake at work, a system error. He was not guilty. He came home that day, almost smiling, almost crying. "They cleared me," he said. "I almost lost everything." I looked at him and said quietly, "You almost did." But something had changed in him. This time, he didn't argue. He didn't defend himself. He just sat down and said, "I was wrong." I stayed silent. "I didn't understand what you were going through," he continued. "I thought it was just weight. I didn't know about the pain, the sleepless nights, everything." I listened. "I am sorry," he said. His voice was different, not proud, not loud, just honest. "Sorry doesn't erase the past," I said, "but at least now you see it." And that was the truth. Time passed again. He started helping more at home. He woke up at night sometimes. He tried to understand our baby. One evening, his mother came again. She started to say something about my body, but this time Victor stopped her. "Mom," he said, "my wife gave me a child. Her body did something powerful. Please respect that." I looked at him surprised. That was the first time he defended me. It didn't fix everything, but it meant something. Later that night, he came home with groceries. "I thought we could cook together," he said. I looked at the vags, then at him. "The kitchen doesn't have to feel like a battlefield anymore," he added. I nodded slowly. We started cooking. It felt strange at first, but peaceful. A few days later, he said, "We can go to the gym together if you want." I smiled a little. "You don't have to monitor me." He shook his head. "I don't want to monitor you. I want to walk with you." That was new, very new. One night, we sat together quietly. He looked at me and said, "I used to compare you to other women." "I know," I replied. "I was insecure," he said. "I thought if you felt small, you would stay." I looked at him carefully. "So you tried to break me to keep control?" He nodded slowly. "Yes." I took a deep breath. "That version of you, I cannot live with that again," I said. "I know," he answered. "I don't want to be that man anymore." I believed he was trying, but I also knew something important. "I stayed for me," I told him, "not for you." He nodded. "I'm grateful you did." And I meant what I said. I didn't stay because I was weak. I stayed because I chose myself, my growth, my peace, my strength. Months later, life felt different. Not perfect, but better. I continued working at the boutique. I continued going to the gym. I continued loving myself step by step. One day, I stood in front of the mirror again. My body was still not the same as before, but my eyes were different. They were stronger, kinder, proud. I touched my stomach softly and smiled. "This body built my son," I whispered. And then I added, And it rebuilt me, too. Victor stood behind me and said quietly, "You were always beautiful. I was just blind." I didn't answer, because now I didn't need his words to believe it. I already knew, and that was my real victory. Thank you for listening to this story. If you enjoy emotional and simple English stories, please support my channel English Story Listening. Like, share, subscribe. Your support helps me create more stories for you. See you in the next story.